We have to hit a button.
All right, I think it's recording. There we go. Hi, my name is Marcy Silver. I'm a speech language pathologist here in New York City. I am also licensed in Connecticut and in California. And here today for the inside scoop of living with cerebral palsy, we have our friend Landon. He is 11 years old.
Hola.
And sixth grader. So we are going to find out some interesting information about him to help others around the world and families, parents, etc. So take it away, Kayla and Landon and Katrina.
What type of CP do you have?
Do you need help with this one?
Yes, please.
Right.
Right side.
Spastic. Say it loud for them.
Right spastic hemiparesis.
Right spastic hemiparesis.
That's a really difficult word to say for any of us.
I always said side.
He always says right side, which is fine because that's pretty much how we discussed it throughout his life. Righty, lefty. Righty was the one that we were working on. So yeah, that's a big word. But CP is much smaller.
Yeah, well, at least, yeah, it's definitely a lot of syllables, a lot of sounds, and the hardest sounds to make, for sure.
There's 4 words.
What does hemi mean?
Could you repeat that, Kayla?
What does hemi mean?
Do you know what hemi means?
I think it means like half.
Yeah, so that's true. It means half of your body, right? One side of your body works very well and the other one needs some areas that need improvement.
Yeah.
All right, Kay, keep it going.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, 1 big sister.
Tell us about her.
Well, she's nice. Sometimes she wants to hug me, but I don't want to hug her back. And she won't leave me alone until she gets a hug. Yeah.
She's smart. Stick
She asked how old?
14.
She's 14.
Wow.
Great big life. And she's full of life.
Yeah.
Pretty spunky.
She's more full of life than you ever want to know.
On her toes.
Yeah.
I follow her too. I can see.
Yeah.
And do you go to the same school?
We used to. Now she's in 10th grade.
9th grade. She's at the elementary high school, which she's now in the high school building in 9th grade. And where we live, elementary school goes up to 6th grade. And then they will move up to the high school for 7th and 8th in 2 floors of the high school building. So Landon has a very big transition upon him. At the end of this year, he will get used to a whole new environment starting next year, because he's been in this elementary school since he was in pre-K. So they go to different schools, but next year they reunite. Hopefully, hopefully it'll be reunited and it feels so good.
It's exciting.
He doesn't seem so excited.
No, not so much.
I have 6 sisters, so imagine what I got growing up.
I heard that yesterday, and you were right in the middle. So hopefully you were treated well.
I got blamed for everything.
Oh. Well, and his sister would say he gets away with murder. So you get everything you want, and you get away with it.
Me?
Are you disagreeing?
I'm just lost on what you said.
Oh, it's just an expression. Oh, you're not murdering anybody. It's an expression.
What? Murdering anybody?
No, you can get away with more things than she can. That's what she would say. I forget.
Because I'm cute.
Well, you certainly are the cutest.
Oh.
She's
Okay,
beautiful.
keep going, Kay.
How many kids are in your class?
24.
Wow, that's a lot of kids.
Yes, his class has 24 students, 2 paraprofessionals, and the 6th grade teacher. And it's an amazing group of people.
It seems like every year I get like 2 new people in class and one of them leaves the class.
Yeah, historically, Landon's had new students come in and friends move and leave. So it's just a lesson of life. Get to meet new people and have to say goodbye to some of the other ones. The good thing about 2022 is you get to keep in touch with people through technology and different forums. So they don't always disappear, which is nice. They stay in, and the moms usually stay connected.
Moms always stay connected. That's the only way.
So tell me, how are they going to help you transition into the new school?
That's the part I do not know. Maybe we'll take a field trip there. I don't know.
So your triannual review is due in June, and it's perfect timing because you need to go see the new school building and transition up there with a plan in place. So Landon and I talked about his IEP meetings, and he always comes to the end and says hello during his meetings and stays involved. And this year will be especially important for Landon to pop his head in.
Why?
Because we will talk about the accommodations and the modifications to your day and plan. And you've never been in a school that has a set of stairs. So that's going to be different for Landon, the transitions up and down the stairs and whether he feels comfortable with all that, carrying heavy things. He's got a little fidget toy that's very loud.
We love fidget toys.
So right now, everybody on Landon's team is equally as important, and we have a very good team in place for Landon in his school setting.
Wait, which team again? A basketball team?
No, well, that's important too, but at school, the members of your team that all work together to meet your academic needs. So you can access the curriculum. One of the most important people this year is going to be the orientation and mobility specialist for Landon from Perkins School for the Blind.
Which is?
She's Jocelyn. She's going to be coming to see you soon. And Susan, he has a VTI, a vision teacher as well, because Landon may have cerebral palsy and he has epilepsy secondary to having a stroke. But he also has CVI, which is a cortical vision impairment. And so having low vision impacts his ability to access the curriculum in terms of needing things magnified. He does have a device that helps with that, and he can talk about that later. But the orientation and the mobility specialist helps get him aware of his surroundings, helps introduce thoughts about moving traffic and people and what it's going to look like in a busy transition of kids coming at you. And you remember the 8th grade hallways and how crazy it gets when you have like 2 minutes to use the restroom, get your books, go to your locker, get to class, but also socialize.
I would have never been able to do that within 2 minutes.
Yeah, so these are things he's going to learn about. And they also have an elevator for all people who need to access it.
But I don't need access to it.
You may at some point and you may not. And that's what we're going to figure out, what's best for you. And you get to decide. It's your educational experience. So you're going to decide what you feel most comfortable with.
Probably the stairs.
I love that.
There's 3 flights of
He
stairs.
says that now.
Yeah.
Who did it? He says that now.
Did you do it at the Memorial Boulevard?
I went to Northeast, which was 1 level, but high school was terrible for me with the stairs.
Were you at Central or
Eastern?
Eastern. So okay, so we'll be figuring that out soon. Yes.
Did you say there was 3 sets of elevators to get to 8th grade?
No, I said there's 3 sets of stairs. There's levels. One thing that Landon,
means 2 elevators.
one thing that he tends to access are railings, obviously. But if he's going down a railing with the set traffic and righty needs to hold on to the railing and lefty's carrying a very big backpack, these are things that he's going to have to figure out with his core and, you know, in his eyesight and his vision and all of the things that kind of combine to maybe make things a little more difficult. And he's just going to have to practice and figure it out. And
I know they normally don't allow it, but will they allow him one with wheels as an accommodation?
a backpack with wheels. They may. They've been more lenient with COVID because students were having to carry so much back and forth and not have lockers and access to desks.
Oh, I remember last year that they said to grab bags, and I had like one bag to carry on one side.
Well, you had a suitcase.
A suitcase and a bag the size of my stomach that I had to bring to class. So I was like, excuse me, throw those out the way. Yes, two double-sized suitcases for me.
Do you want double roll-offs? So he did have a rolling suitcase. One of the things that one of his accommodations is an Acrobat, and it's a vision magnifier. You know, it magnifies things for him to read. And that's pretty heavy. So I'm not sure what the plan will be for that for next year. Yeah. He's expected to pack it up and move it between classes. Whereas this year, it is on a wheeling cart, but he only is in one room. Last year, he was between two rooms, and the teacher just wheeled it between the rooms. So we shall see. We will learn.
My son
We're going to educate them about what to do, and they'll educate us about what to do.
Yeah. Visual impairment, and when he got to high school, he used his iPhone.
Okay.
Because it has a lot of the same features. They just made an accommodation that he was allowed to use his phone in school. So it works for him.
You know what he's hearing. I get an iPhone?
I get an iPhone in class. Watch a game and be act like I'm doing homework, but not.
I know that the iPhone had that many features. The visual specialist from our school district actually showed me. And it does a lot of the same things.
Wait, they have one named Ashley?
Well, Landon, I think what I learned, because I work with children who have different needs. And what I love to hear, especially from all of you, is that you don't want to be treated different. You want those stairs. You want to do what all the other kids are doing. So for me.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. Ever since the first time I got the Da Vinci, I never wanted to use it because I didn't want to feel different.
Exactly. So working on the things that everybody else is doing is so important. So Kayla, let's keep going.
For new people, what is triannual?
It's a review that happens every 3 years for Landon's individualized education plan. So this is a big year for him.
I wouldn't even have known what that meant.
Well, try. Do you know what try means?
3.
Okay, so if you broke it down, annual, once a year, every year, triannual. He needs Miss Teven.
Yeah.
What's Miss Teven?
The woman we had. We'll talk later. So yeah, thank you, Kayla, for asking that. I know I may throw out terms that are confusing. So please ask us, and he may not even know, so I'll explain.
No. No.
Yeah, you know all the terms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you enjoy school?
Do you enjoy school?
Only the parts that don't include math.
I'd have to agree on that.
Me too.
Very different these days, Marcy.
That Common Core stuff is so dumb. No.
Please.
It makes no sense.
Kayla loves math.
Oh, you do, Kayla? Oh, good for you. Oh,
It's common sense for people to hate math.
you think it's common sense for people to not like math?
Yes.
She wouldn't agree. Kayla wouldn't agree. I think it's common sense that people would get flustered by math.
If you break math down letter by letter, mental math, A, abuse, T, 2, and H, human. So mental abuse to humans.
That's the acronym that sixth graders have come up with for the
Love
term.
it. That's such a great acronym.
Oh boy, you did that on your own.
Me?
I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
Calculators don't even help me.
No.
Are you telling us something, Kay?
Calculus.
Calculus? You're taking calculus?
Calculus.
Whoa.
No. But at Tunxus you're taking it? No. High school. I had pre-cal, that was enough. Okay, keep it going.
What do you like to do at recess?
When I'm either at recess or gym, I like to hang out with my friends and probably act silly. Because that's basically me. When I have no math, nothing.
He's a jokester.
So you hang out with your friends at recess. Tell me what you do at recess these days. I haven't been in recess in a long time.
When we go outside, I either just follow my friends and play with them, and they always have a football near them. But when it's either inside, I either just find a piece of paper and a pen and just scribble and draw anything that comes into my mind, which is basically just everything.
He's an incredible artist.
Yeah, and once at school, I even made a weird version of Dora, a crop top melon head Mexican child, which is Dora.
Yep, you drew Dora.
It basically, I'm a bad draw.
No.
I know. I can't draw Dora without making a bad hairline.
He does love art class.
If you enjoy art, then you're an artist. You can do it.
Absolutely is an artist.
So that's really awesome.
What are your favorite classes?
My favorite classes are like science, art, gym. Is this a class? Lunch and recess?
He loves lunch. He gets a break.
Yes.
Oh, so speaking of lunch, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your feeding and eating. So are you still experiencing what you describe as red ants?
Not a lot anymore, but still sometimes when I eat the things that make my stomach hurt.
So red ants was a term that Landon began using to help us understand that his tummy was burning. And so food was just bothering him, and maybe we thought he had acid reflux. We weren't sure. But he would tell us, I have red ants in my tummy after he ate almost everything. And we figured we had to go to some more doctors and a gastroenterologist and have some studies done, an endoscopy and a fluoroscopy and a stomach emptying test. And it did show the acid reflux, and they've put him on different medications to try to help with that. So the red ants is he refers to himself having triangle pain. That's just the way he describes it, which is very creative, because sometimes it's very hard for not just children, for people who just don't know how to identify a feeling and help an adult understand it. I know the doctors have always looked at him funny when he says, I've got red ants in my belly and my triangle hurts. But that's how he got us to key into certain things and to research.
Well, that helps me as a clinician because, I have a lot of children that have feeding difficulties and also epilepsy. And I know that when you are having an epileptic episode, instead of us as adults panicking, we can give it a positive term like rainbow zone or something like that. So do you have any terms for that as well?
You have anything positive? I know, Landon's hand locks, his right hand locks frequently. I don't know if
And it doesn't move.
that happens to Kayla and Katrina. So that's an aura for Landon, and we just keep an eye on it. He does have visual focal auras as well, but the physical hand locking, those are terms that or ways in which he's letting us know he's either fatigued or something's brewing.
Don't forget about the other aura that I always have.
Yeah.
It's like that one where I always look at the lights, but I'm not looking at lights and it just won't stop. The light looking thing won't stop blinking.
So Landon has a few types of seizures. He has focal seizures where he just zones out and stares off into space. And as a baby, I thought he was just looking out the window in the car or watching a movie. The only reason why I knew he had just had a focal seizure was because he drooled after a focal seizure and he would fall asleep right away. And that's still to this day, if I recognize him in the back seat, just not paying attention, that still can happen. He also has myoclonic seizures while he's sleeping and just some jerks in the bed, nothing too concerning.
What's a myoclonic mean?
Your body's moving. It's just constantly moving and restless in your sleep. And then he has had the scariest of all, a grand mal seizure. Had that too, Kayla. So scary, huh?
What is it? I don't know what.
Luckily for you, you didn't know you were having it. Mommy did.
Oh wait, is it the seizure where I had to go get that net backpack thing?
You had to, yes, after your that particular seizure, you had to go have a 24-hour EEG, and they put a cap on Landon's head, and wires were attached to him that he had to carry around this purse for a day, and it held all the wires. It monitored everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mommy, can I use the restroom, please?
Yes, you may. That's allowed. So yeah, I don't think he has, I'm trying to think if he has a positive way. Landon is such a positive human being.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Absolutely. His nickname at school by people is Smiley. He's always happy. He is silly. He makes me laugh more than any adult in my life. And it's just this youthful innocence that, draws me to him, and most people.
Yeah.
And he's a kind human being, which you referenced because of his t-shirt in that advertisement. He really is kind, and he does want to just fit in. He mentioned that with the stairs and just wants to fit in and be like other kids. And he does a great job at that. And Landon having what's considered an invisible disability to most people, and I'm using school terms, which is, Landon looks like a typical child versus a child with special needs. And that's kind of how it's referred to in paperwork and different things now.
What did I miss?
Come on.
We missed you, Landon. We missed you. That's what was missing.
So I think he struggles with people questioning, like why he does certain things a certain way or why he gets certain privileges at school, which aren't privileges, they're accommodations so that he can access a curriculum. But in the eyes of other students, it may seem unfair to them. So Landon does a lot of educating to his peers. The school is fantastic about having meetings and lunch groups and lunch bunches and peer education moments.
I haven't had a lunch group in a while, except I only have them on Tuesdays with the principal for an education thing.
The multicultural thing. Yeah.
That's the only
But I have given everybody in the school permission to read his IEP, to talk to him, to ask him questions. There are no secrets. And if he doesn't feel comfortable talking, he won't. If you want to know why he does something a certain way, ask. And if he doesn't want to answer, he'll tell you. He's the best disseminator of information. So,
So Landon, have you ever experienced any, any times where kids were not nice to you, or, any examples that made you feel uncomfortable or sad, or you don't have to answer right now. You can think about it too.
Well, I do have some basketball that kind of makes me feel a little bit missed out. But yeah.
So Landon plays for our youth basketball home league, and he plays with peers from his class and
some from
a grade below him, and they're peers he's been playing with for years. And so you can go back to that just so you're aware of the background. They're all kids he knows, but what's your common frustration that you would express?
I feel left out because nobody passes me the ball a lot. And I'm right in front of them.
Well, that's awesome that you're going, you're playing, you're showing up. That's amazing. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. Is there anything that, what do you think could be a solution to that? What maybe could you express or say to them? Or have you?
I have for a few years, and I still haven't gotten past it a lot though.
Speak up so they can hear you.
Oh.
So Landon has expressed.
I can hear you.
Okay. He has expressed feelings to the coach and to the kids, and the teaching moments absolutely occur, but in just if you've ever played a sport and you're in a high, fast-paced energy situation, kids are kids, and we have adrenaline going and it's exciting, and not everybody's listening to, hey, I'm open, or I'm open here. And so I know it's tough for him because he is wide open and it is frustrating, and he does take the shots. He does go right in there, and he gets in there and grabs the ball, and he's a little bit aggressive, which is great. But I understand when he's under the hoop, and he could be the perfect person past you.
Want to know something? I'm under the hoop. I'm ready to pass. And that's what Coach wants. But they pass these people that are basically halfway across the land.
I know. Getting used to practicing with a team and getting to know each other's styles and never giving up on them too. They're learning. You're all
and your mom was a goalie, soccer goalie. So you have that aggressive nature.
I never played basketball. My kids, I don't know, they must have gotten it from somebody else, not me.
Like daddy.
Baby daddy, yeah. But they love it, and I encourage him to play and do whatever he wants. And I will never force him to do something. That he knows I will not force him. But he is welcome to try anything.
Cool.
All
right, Kay.
What subjects are hard for you?
At school.
Yeah.
So we've been learning new things in class every day. Now in 6th grade, so basically tons of stuff. And math. Yeah.
Yeah, you told us math for sure. Now I know that acronym really.
Cool. Everybody has trouble. Most people have trouble with math.
Landon's always been a phenomenal reader, and he acquired, reading and language skills very early. When we had a neurologist tell us at 18 months he may never walk and he may not talk, and I looked right at him and I said, first of all, we haven't been diagnosed with anything yet. We're here for a consult.
Wait.
Yes, we know something is different, but this child already knows 25 words and 75 words and 25 signs.
Wait.
And throw a ball and he'll run and catch it. So.
That doctor said I can't walk.
He wasn't sure.
He said I couldn't walk and talk. Oh, yeah.
You proved him wrong.
Yeah. You
I was
proved
told
wrong.
that.
He did. So we ended up getting an MRI 2 months later, and that's where the diagnostic baseline came in, that he had had a stroke, and the doctor was right when he diagnosed him with right spastic hemiparesis before he had even had an MRI. He was just trained to see that, but there was no way they were going to tell us what you couldn't do. Huh?
Yeah.
No way. Not me anyway, as the human and I am.
Yeah.
We've been with the same neurologist since he was 18 months old, and he's been a constant in our life. I know Kayla and Katrina have talked about people and doctors who have followed you for years and have become so important. I heard you speak in other things.
I want to stretch.
Oh, I didn't know where you wanted me.
You're like this.
I'm sorry. Well, so this person's been with us since he was 18 months old, and we're so grateful for him.
Yeah.
And, one of the fears that I have, that I know you both have spoken about, is aging out of a pediatric system. It's very scary to me.
So I had no care from the time I was 18 till the time I was 43 because nobody would take me.
That is shocking to me. Shocking.
Even PCPs, I have a hard time. They hear I have CP and it's like I have a disease. Nobody wants to touch me. So I found Weinberg CP Center in New York City, which has been great to me, but the doctor has changed to Hospital for Special Surgery. So I actually stalked him on the internet, found out where he was going, and I have followed him there. So
Good for you.
I'm getting ready to do a gait analysis, another one. I don't know if Landon has ever had one. Has he ever had a gait lab?
What's
Not
an 8 lab?
gait, as in your
So they put these lights on your body and you walk a runway, and they take pictures of all your muscles and your movements to see what treatment plan they can do to make you better.
So when Landon was little, we went to Shriners, and they did something similar, and they recommended some pretty controversial care. They had measured him for they called it a SPEO suit, but a very tight fitting suit for deep pressure. But they also wanted to, they fitted him for an AFO, an ankle foot orthotic, when we weren't sure he needed that. And then they immobilized, I'm trying to find the right word, where they immobilized the good hand, his hand that wasn't impacted by the cerebral palsy or the stroke. And they wanted to put him in a cast, and it just was too controversial for us. And so we didn't have specifically what you're referring to, but we did do a bunch of stuff through Shriners.
Yeah, my doctor, because he's the conservative approach. I mean, I've had 30 surgeries.
Oh, okay.
Marcy, since high school, I am better. I was able to get my driver's license last year, so that was a huge thing for me. And I don't have any modifications. I just get in the car and go. I just will never be able to drive standard, obviously, because my left side is my weak side. But I skied as a young adolescent, and that's like my next goal. But I'm having some hip issues. I think I have to have another surgery, so it probably won't be this year, but hopefully next year.
I hope so for you. Yes, absolutely. We will be rooting for you in that way.
That's awesome. I know. Me too, rooting for you. Okay, you have some more questions?
Is she still there?
I am switching to the hospital that I was transferred to after birth.
Oh, okay.
Is that who will provide your care now?
Yeah, that's tricky. Ugh.
Unfortunately, where we live,
Remote learning?
Sorry, you go. Unfortunately, what?
Where we live, we don't have where we live in Massachusetts is very large. We don't have doctors close by that can meet the needs of Landon.
So we go to Boston.
We have to
New
drive.
York.
No, we don't go to New York. We go to Boston.
Boston, New York. That's what you always say. Go to Boston, New York.
No, we go to Mass General. We go to Boston Children's. We go to Perkins School for the Blind. We go to Bay State, which is in Springfield. We go to Cooley Dickinson now. So that's the name, Cooley Dickinson.
So who takes care of his CP needs?
So his neurologist, he's basically his main CP related doctor. We have a pediatrician, obviously, who's local, who we check in with. But the neurologist is an hour and a half away. If we go to one site, it's, 2.5, 3 hours, they say, to go into Boston. It takes us 5 to 6 hours to get into Boston. It's a full day with parking and travel and just needing rests for a long time. I felt very uncomfortable as a young woman with a small child driving in and out of Boston alone. If he choked in the back seat in his car seat on food or even water, Landon often aspirated on water, had aspirated pneumonia quite frequently. I just had this fear. And so, I was fortunate. My dad, who was in Connecticut, would meet me halfway. And we'd jump in the same car together. And of course, his father came to certain appointments. But we also had another child home to take care of. And your sister. So not having people and medical professionals close by has been worrisome, because you do have to just pack up and leave. And last June, we had a little scare with Landon.
My heartbeat.
His heart rate dropped super low. And
So how low?
like
26.
in the 30s, 26 to 30. And so the pediatrician sent us we were given some misinformation over a 2-day period by a walk-in clinic.
You're making me scared already. I want to check my heartbeat.
So he ended up going downstairs from the pediatrician to the hospital, and he got hooked up to a bunch of things. And it was a scary day for both of us, but mainly him,
My heartbeat
because he doesn't like people to touch him. So it's pretty hard when you are a patient.
My heartbeat feels calm.
It's fine. It's calm. So when you have a patient that doesn't like to be touched, you have doctors and nurses that don't always have patience. And so
they literally threatened to call security on me.
Yeah, they threatened to call security, and
I really wanted to find.
Keep it to yourself. They tried to hold him down, and it was traumatic. They transported us in the middle of the night to another hospital where they
woke up, and I was still awake at 1 a.m.
where they felt like they could better meet his needs because he wasn't cooperating, and it became, a scary situation. And then his heart rate went up too high, and we had to adjust some medication.
And I tried to breathe as fast as I can so to get it high enough to leave.
So then he tried to fake them out to get out of the hospital. It was just a interesting couple days.
Wow, you have us all figured out.
He knows.
You have us all figured out.
Yep.
I love it. All right, Kay, keep going.
Did you like remote learning?
I was having. I had like 1 to 2 hour classes, but I would always have like 5-minute breaks and always able to have snacks, and watch TV and be like.
Landon's a little snack muncher.
Oh yeah.
He loved the fact that he could have snacks all day long.
And I used to
wear his jammies from the bottom down.
And when they're in class, since I love eating, I would do this in the camera. I would literally put it to the bottom, and I would sneak food in my mouth until I was done chewing. I'd be like this.
He would put his head down and sneak the food and go back up. And he would pretend to fall asleep and then really fall asleep. Yeah.
Wow.
Landon would stay home for the rest of his life if he had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Stay in a house.
I'm with you on that.
Yes.
Agreed, 100%.
Remote learning?
Team Marcy.
Okay, go.
So he did really well with it, actually.
That's awesome.
But then it all went down to Wednesday, only Wednesdays at home.
Yeah, then it
went to full weeks at school.
I know. I hear you.
and now we're back, and I think it's heavenly. I work in the school where Landon goes, so it's always a nice treat to see his smiling face come around the corner.
I really always think in school, who is the first person in school? Find them and then throw them into a pile of like a
no.
plant.
I'm like, no. Yeah, he would rather not be at school.
What did you like about remote learning?
What I liked about
Or didn't.
oh,
Was
what
that
I did,
didn't like or did?
Both.
oh, what I liked about like remote learning is that I basically already told you, but yeah. And what I didn't like about remote learning was that at the end of the days you would have longer periods until the end of the day before school ended, and like I didn't get to see my friends.
Yeah, they had a weird setup where they split kids in half days, so he wasn't always privy to the full class and his friends. So
Got it. All right, Kay, keep it going. You're doing great.
After school?
what do you do after school?
What I do after school is like I always love to go to my favorite and play with my action figures, or either play on my phone and just probably take a nap or chill.
Yeah, Landon's pretty tired at the end of a school day.
Yeah, I could literally fall asleep instantly in the car and then wake up at home.
That's exactly what he does.
And it would take an hour for mom to get stuff at what is it called again? Aldi's. There we go.
Sometimes I say, we have to go to Aldi's. You can't fall asleep. And no, he's asleep before I pull out of the school parking lot.
So what time do you go to sleep at night then?
Sometimes I go to bed at 9, 10, 11. I haven't done it in a while, but last week on Friday when we had that snow day off, since we didn't have school that day, then Thursday night, which led into Friday, I stayed up all night until it was Friday, and I never went to bed.
Yeah, he sprung that on me yesterday. But on a school night, we start to shut down at 9. Hopefully by 9:30 we are gonzo.
But sometimes at school nights I need to go to bed at 11 or 10.
Yeah, mommy's on him though, because I'm the one who has to wake him up and get going.
And
And I can't be late because I have to be there to let kids in, so I can't be late.
She knows that I stay up late when I wake up at 10.
I know.
What happened today?
But anyway, regardless of that, you are easily fatigued after a full day.
Oh, I always am. I'm fatigued by when it reaches the halfway point, even more than halfway.
So Landon not only physically fatigues, based on his core and how hard his muscles work to get through each day, but also the visual fatigue is very real for him with the cortical vision impairment.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then, so how long is the nap? Like, how long do you nap?
It's either when I'm in the car, basically either probably an hour to 10, or when I'm at home in my bed, I either just fall asleep for 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
He could go to sleep for 2 to 3 hours after school and still go to bed by 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
The car one, he usually falls asleep when we're leaving the parking lot at school. I run a couple errands, the post office, the local stuff, get a coffee, read a magazine in the car. By the time we get home, it may be an hour, or we go pick up his sister up at practice, which is another half-hour ride. And by the time we get home, he's had enough to get him through the rest of the night.
For sure.
What therapies have you had?
I have had vision, I think.
Yeah, he has a vision teacher. It's a TVI, a teacher for the visually impaired.
And I do stuff with my hand, like exercises with my hand. OT.
He has OT.
And I basically see the teacher that does it, like every, what was it again? Wednesday. I see her every Wednesday.
Yeah, she pushes in to his, Landon has pull out with a special ed teacher twice a day, 4 days a week, which he loves for ELA and math. And it's individual attention with a couple peers, and he just loves it. It's special time. It's really important. It gives him the opportunity to ask questions that he may not feel comfortable in the larger group. He gets a little more individualized attention, which is so important for him. Assimilating information and taking it all in. And he has OT during one of those times. He's always had OT. That's been a constant. Once he was diagnosed at 18 months or 20 months, once the MRI was done, he was receiving 5-day-a-week in-home services through our United Cerebral Palsy team. And we had these amazing women who I'm still in touch with to this day. I'll tell you after, I'll remind you after. And they came into our home and they became family. And so we've experienced one transition that, you guys relate to, Katrina and Kayla. He aged out of birth to 3, and it was so traumatic because he knew these women. They were in our home, they became like family, and then they were like, okay, we can't see you anymore, and now the school has to take over. And it was so difficult. Thankfully, one of the women had a contract with our school, so his Perkins School for the Blind, TVI, followed him from birth to 3 to the school. And then he had to meet a new OT and a new speech and language pathologist at the school and a new PT. Now, Landon could access the curriculum for PT, so he was pretty much just put on a consult. We did years of investigating, but he had a little right side weakness of the foot. It dropped, and it was a little bit heavier than the other side, but he could access the curriculum. So he was basically discharged from PT. And what we saw the most problem with was when he would transition over thresholds from like outside to inside, or vice versa, if his glasses didn't transition, or if there was a piece of metal between door frame that may be slippery, and then there were tiles on either side that if they became wet, they were slippery. That's where we were finding the most difficulty. That's where he fell the most.
I would either fall, then when my glasses were turned black because of the sun, whatever you said about it.
They don't transition fast enough, so you have fallen on your face.
And I fog up and can't see, and they fog up faster.
Yeah. So he's like, during fire drills, one of the things that led us to amend his IEP last year, during a fire drill, he transitioned outside and he tripped on a stick in the grass that he didn't see.
And I broke this.
And he fell on his face and broke his glasses. And then it was determined that Landon absolutely needs to transition out with a para who can help guide his way and pull him out a little bit earlier. And just because it's so loud and it gets a little chaotic. So the orientation and mobility specialists met with our team of people at school, and they came up with a plan. But Landon has historically had difficulty with curb cuts or like changes in grade and curb and ramp.
So basically,
ramp height.
I have that too, and I don't have a visual impairment. I mean, I'm blessed with that, but I have that with descending and all of that.
So you can absolutely relate.
When did he get glasses? When did they just give him glasses?
until I was like 3, 4.
So when he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, they said he's probably going to have epilepsy. And if he has epilepsy, then he's probably going to have a vision issue, because every time he has a seizure, it might decrease his ability to see. But his acuity was perfect, but he was also so young that they struggled with how to get an accurate read on him. To this day, his acuity is fantastic. He just has an astigmatism, and he has either a right visual field defect or neglect. So with the low vision, the glasses all kind of come into play. So I want to say his first pair was 2.5 or 3.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm learning a lot about vision in my work, because I find that they're not recommending visual stuff for kids until they're like 5 or 7, when they start to read. And I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of kids where I'm like, I'm not sure they're seeing, and they don't make the recommendation. And I have amazing vision people I use here now, but I find it very under looked at as a sensory system that is breaking down, and that's why kids have difficulty attending, or difficulty reading, or difficulty sitting up or walking. So that's really, really good to know.
Absolutely stay on that for your clients, because
exactly.
It's all interconnected, and in order for him to meet his 80 activities of daily living, he needs to be a whole person with all his senses needs being met. So.
Yeah. Even I'm working with a client right now online, and I discover things online that you wouldn't really discover sometimes in person. And I see his eyes both going one way, and I'm like, that's interesting, so I had to recommend it. So let's see, Kay, you have any more questions?
What do you find works well?
So what I find that works well with me in school, or not in school though? In school. Or
both.
Yeah, both is basically my glasses and my acrobat, which helps me see things better when I'm in the back of the class.
So the magnification.
The magnification, I can basically teach it different colors, magnify it, demagnify it. I can move it anywhere within its range.
So he's learned quite a lot about it, and I'm so happy he's choosing to use it. A couple years ago, he didn't want to feel different, and so he would refuse to, but he was fatiguing so easily and needing naps throughout the day in the nurse's office that he finally went to the teacher and said, I think I need to try it.
And that started halfway through this year. And this year.
Oh, again, you did it?
Yeah. Yes, because I was too stubborn.
Landon self-admitted, I will agree, he's very stubborn. And if you recommend something and it's not coming from him, he does not want to be told what to do. And we just work with him where he's at. And the acrobat does help him. He also has he's colorblind. So his teachers highlight things that he needs to see in red. He does see red well.
Yellow.
A yellow highlighter would just blend right into the scheme of things. So he thinks most colors that are like brownish, green, and yellow, he calls them all golden.
No, if it's either brown, if it's either a dark or light brown, I'd say it almost looks like a green.
Yeah. What color are you wearing today?
Light green.
What am I wearing?
That looks like a bronze.
Oh, it's dark green. We're wearing green for cerebral palsy.
I was talking about this, Mommy.
Oh, well, this is gold.
I think that, Landon, because you're stubborn, which I call willful, that is why I don't call it stubborn. I call it willful, and that's why you're so successful at what you. That's why you're so successful. So.
Much more positive.
I think all personalities on here are pretty willful. So we've met each other's naturals.
I love that. Landon, he also has an accommodated recorder, which has been really helpful because the kids are required to learn how to play the recorder in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And it took a little bit of time, but we we petitioned our town and our SPED agency, our funding source, so to speak, for a modified recorder, and that's helped him a lot.
But it was still hard to use.
But it's still hard to read the music, and he still needs things magnified, and it takes more effort on the part of the teacher who has to accommodate his curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding, working with teachers at this point with COVID and, there all these, things, they're so overwhelmed, but at the same time, they're like, please help us. We need help modifying and things like that. So it's a catch-22 because they have more guidelines, more restrictions, more paperwork, but they want to implement it. And I'm learning a lot about augmentative, alternative communication and technology now, more and more, because I don't know a lot about that. So it's really cool to hear about these different materials that are being offered to you.
And there's a wealth of information out there. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, any more questions? We won't keep you much longer.
What do you find doesn't work well?
What I don't find that works well with me is that sometimes when I do use the things that help with me, even if I do use it and it feels better to me and it doesn't fatigue me more than not using it, it still fatigues me a lot, so it can make me want to sleep in class.
Yeah, you get tired easy.
Yes. You said hired, not tired.
I said tired, but it is tired.
What strategies do they give you?
Can you repeat that, Kayla?
What strategies do they give you?
Well, the strategies that they give me for like math for math or for stuff that I use?
For anything, for accommodating, they give him large print material if they can. Everything has to be ordered and done ahead of time. They highlight things that are important for him to see and need to know. They do graphic organizers with him to kind of
that definitely
that helps you. He has a binder to refer to with main points and easier ways to find something more quickly. He has a zone of regulation group that he meets with and does some mindfulness, and that's really important. What other strategies? I think the school is just very good at giving Landon space to figure things out for himself, and when he needs help, they encourage him, if he's expressing it in a positive, gentle way, to do so. I know when he gets frustrated, he kind of goes to a place where it's hard to access those calming techniques.
And if I basically want to not talk about it or just do something after it and just to get away from it, and people still like want to ask me why I did that or something like that, I will tend to, my brain or my head, what's it called again? My lid would flip up and I'd go angry.
So he gets angry and he calls it flipping a lid.
Yeah, since 2022, I've gotten more and more thin on ice. If you know what I mean.
People are on thin ice with you more and more.
No. Yeah, I even had a fight with my teacher.
Yes. So Landon's having a harder, so part of Landon's stroke impacted his frontal lobe, and he doesn't see danger the way other kids can see danger, and he doesn't always think a few steps ahead consequence wise. And he's had so many, something on you. He's had so many reports and assessments done. And one of the things that they encourage him to do is or other people to do is to step back, because he may not be able to calm down in those moments. And just to let him have the moment. Obviously, if he's being safe, in those cases, he needs to be safe to himself and to others. But Landon has expressed anger and frustration to teachers who tell him that he has to do things a certain way because his IEP states that he has to, and he doesn't agree with that. He doesn't want to be told you have to do this because it's in your IEP in front of other students.
Right.
And he doesn't want them to have some couth. He wants them,
First of all, can you please tell me an example?
he wants them to have a better, manners with him, in the sense that they pull him aside and not embarrass him in front of other people.
Thank you.
So he did struggle with that in the beginning of the year, and he didn't handle it well. But he was able to resolve it because he used his voice and he advocated for himself and said, what I don't like about what you did was this, and this is how it made me feel. And he did all of that.
And ever since that day, I've been trying to get help from the other teacher, not him.
Yes, he seeks out people that he feels more comfortable with. And he's learned to do that.
Yeah.
And I support how he needs to get his needs met, as long as he's respectful.
Yeah. So Landon, I know, when you're feeling, angry and frustrated, it definitely doesn't, I'm sure, make you feel good or your body feel good. I know when I'm angry, I feel sicker, right? I feel not so good. When you are able to communicate what you need, like when you go to the teacher and you give them what you need, do you feel better after that? Yeah. And I think, we all need work on that. So, adults get really angry and sick and not feel good and hold it in. And then when we do it in a calm way, it makes us feel better too. So your feelings are valid, and it's frustrating. Especially when people don't know what you want or need, and can't or don't understand what you're saying. So I'm really grateful that you were able to communicate that. And I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up, because I feel like our whole world is sort of going through anger and frustration. And so it's really good that you're able to say, yeah, sometimes I flip a lid, and everybody flips a lid. Everybody. And so I love that you're like, I can go back and I can talk it through, and your mom and your dad let you problem solve it on your own terms, because no one's going to be able to do that for you except for you. Because we don't really know how you're feeling, but clearly it made you really pissed off and angry. So I really, really like, keep communicating for yourself, keep advocating for yourself, and stick with the people that love you, and stick with the people that, that advocate for you. And that's the most important in life.
Landon's voice is the most powerful. I tell him all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're not screaming, people will listen.
Yeah, exactly. And adults learn it that way too. Like, we all learn it that way. We scream first, and then we realize that was not the right way. So, and you're still a kid. You're going to be a teenager. Like, that's the reality. We always learn from our mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. So it's okay to keep making them as long as we learn from them. So thank you so much for doing this interview with us. It was so helpful.
You're welcome.
Did you have fun? You did. We loved having you. And hopefully we can have you on again. And if there's something you want to do for UCP month, you let us know, because we'll have you back.
Well, this was huge for us because we don't know many people with cerebral palsy, and Landon does not know any other children with cerebral palsy
In my school at all.
anywhere. He's met one adult actually in Bristol. We would go to the old girls club, and I believe it was called Oak Hill Adaptive, and there was a gentleman running the program, Paul, who had cerebral palsy, and he let Landon come in and do open gym and rock climbing. And that was the first person he got to see in person with cerebral palsy. And I think it was scary to him because Paul used a wheelchair for mobility, but he also could play basketball, but he also could stand and walk a little bit. And so Landon was afraid that going to be him someday. And there are no answers for that right now. Where obviously Landon has a very mild case of cerebral palsy. While his stroke damaged 50% of his brain, the pathways regenerated, and he's had a good support system, and he's learned to do things that people thought he could never do.
Wait, wasn't that the faithful day that Bobby almost broke his back?
Bobby fell there. So when his hand locks and he postures more, he gets a little nervous, but I'm so glad we got to meet 2 more people that we can reach out.
And think about it. I know you sometimes do some awareness in your school for United Cerebral Palsy Month, because I remember, so yeah, let us know, but it was such a pleasure, and we need more male representation.
And where do you guys live?
We are in Western Massachusetts, but I'm originally from Bristol.
Okay. Yeah, I live in Canterbury now, but I'm from
Bristol.
Dose.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, I'm gonna log off.
Thank you so much. Landon wants to be a radio announcer someday, or TV newscaster.
Well, how about you do one of our shows?
Yeah. One day, sure. He does the announcements at school. I think he could try that.
Yeah, so maybe we can get a male, a male adult or kid, and then you can interview him.
You can do the interview like Kayla did for you.
How about that?
Yes,
Well,
I do.
he can be on the show when Dr. Selber's on, Mars.
That's true. Yeah.
So my doctor is going to be part of one of our podcasts. So
yeah, we're going to try to get her doctor on here for
great.
Month. Yeah.
That'd be exciting.
Every case is different, so he could think up a bunch of questions that he wants to ask him.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. All right, so we'll let you know. We'll let you know what day.
So we're friends now, all of us. We're going to stay in touch. Yeah.
Okay, keep us posted. I'll miss you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.